All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Warren Wheaton, District 7 legislator. This is our monthly webinar for our District 7 citizens. Today, our guest is the Department of Natural Resources for the Kiowa tribe. We have Mr. Terrence Paulkey and Ephraim Kelly here, and we're going to talk about what they do and what their department is formulating, some plans for the future. And two topics of discussion is what is the plan for the buffalo herd, where do they come from, and just kind of get some information from them about what I guess the herd plan is, the sustainability plan for them. And then we also wanted to talk about the Hearth Act. The Hearth Act, some changes that they had proposed to our Hearth Act as a tribe, and kind of go through those as well. So, good afternoon, Mr. Paulkey. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, sir. I can hear you just fine.
Okay. Well, would you mind just introducing yourself to us and our citizens that are listening in?
Hi. Terrence Pakiai, Khan. My name's Terrence Pakiai. Uh, my families are the Pakiai family, Samti, Botone, and Tabonama. And I work at the Natural Resource Department as the Natural Resource Specialist. And I handle a lot of our realty needs. So what the BIA does, acquisitions and disposals, help with the tribe's probate or establishing the tribe's probate. We don't have that on our side yet.
Sure.
And with other trust to trust acquisitions, fee to trust, restricted fee, just anything that the tribe needs to get done for our lands acquisitions and whatever that entails that's needed for us.
Okay. So I guess Terrence, we'll just jump right into the questions that I have for the Natural Resources Department. We also have some guests. This is a meeting today, so if there's anyone that would like to ask a question, if you would raise your hand using the function at the bottom under the Reactions tab, there is a raise hand, and once we this is a webinar that we're going to share to our YouTube page. If you'll raise your hand, and I'll acknowledge you and allow you to speak and ask some questions you have for the Natural Resources Department. So, um, I guess my first question, Terrence, is how is the Department of Natural Resources currently being funded? Are there
So,
grants? Are there tribal money?
as of right now, I think we have four people in our department that are funded from tribal funds partially, and then there are other programs that are completely grant funded that help also supplement some of the tribal funding for other employees here. But
Okay.
Mr. Kelly has the full details on that.
Is Mr. Kelly with you?
Uh, he should be on this call at some point on his own device.
Okay. We'll send a message and we'll speak with him more about that. So the tribe has acquired a buffalo herd. About how many buffalo do we have right now?
Right now we have 10, and they come from Golden, Colorado.
Golden, Colorado, and that was in I guess, a partnership with the Intertribal Buffalo Council. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what does that council do? Could you kind of give us a brief synopsis of what the Intertribal Buffalo Council does and how it helps tribes, I guess, create their own herds?
So they're there to reestablish the tribe's want to reconnect with buffalo, and they provide all the services to the tribe that they would need to reintegrate buffalo into the tribe's life again.
Hmm.
So from fencing to sourcing the buffalo with good genetics and just everything you would need through like extra resource to the natural resource conservation services that are offered through the government also.
Okay.
So they supplement NRCS and FSA to the manage their own buffalo herd.
Okay. And
And
so
also, we were partnered with
go ahead, Terrence.
let's see. Also, we're partnered with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and they also help with getting us underway with being in regulation with as many buffalo as we want. So our goal is to have 150 buffalo on Rainy Mountain. That is going to be the max that we would want on that amount of land. So that way they would be somewhat self-sufficient without us having to put out pellets and supplements all throughout the year.
How many
But
acres are currently the buffalo currently residing on?
those 10 buffalo are on 130 acres behind the tribal complex or
Okay.
Red Wolf Hall there.
But they're not at Rainy Mountain, at the trust property the tribe has out there.
Not yet. We are leasing Rainy Mountain from the KCA,
Okay.
and right now it's a 2-year lease we're finishing that Harzog had, but he decided not to finish out the lease, so we took it over,
Okay.
and then we'll have a 13-year lease after that on
Okay.
Rainy Mountain.
A 13-year lease. And how many acres is on the Rainy Mountain property? Do you
1,900 acres.
1,900 acres on Rainy Mountain? So the buffalo, 10 buffalo are currently yearlings, and they're housed on 132 acres behind the tribal complex, right?
Yes, sir.
And how are they doing? Are they making it okay?
Yeah, so far they seem pretty content.
Are the
They
heat
have
is the heat and humidity kind of hard for them to manage, you think?
first summer. This we'll find out
Find out. Yeah,
how they'll do.
sure. So so the plan is the tribe going to raise buffalo, have them on that land at Rainy Mountain? What's their plan for how they're going to use the buffalo in the future?
We're hoping to reintegrate buffalo into the Kiowa ways for sustenance, for cultural resources, for tradition. So we're just trying to have buffalo around again so that way we can have access to what was once very common for our people. Just being around buffalo, having buffalo products. It is what our people were about pre-colonization.
Yeah, so I guess the plan is for like say for example, we have the upcoming Thympegall ceremonial coming up. The plan would be to use those buffalo for I guess contribute meat to our camps and then start eating that buffalo again like we used to, right? And use the hides for whatever we might have used them for a drum, maybe even make a teepee out of them one day. That's the kind of the plan on how we sustain and get back to that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And it
Um,
starts with us having the access to our own buffalo.
so your title is a natural resource specialist. How many people are currently employed in the department, and what are their titles?
So we have Ronnie Sapihoodle, who is our GAP coordinator. GAP is General Assistance Program, and it's
Mhm.
one of the base grants for environmental that you get that branches off into other programs. So we have a water program that Mark Johannoto Burns,
Mhm.
that's what he runs. And we have a climate pollution reduction program. That's what ATOC Hawker runs. Uh, we just started wildfire management, and I haven't met that. That's a new employee. I haven't
Okay.
met them yet. Uh, Miss Dorla's our office manager. She's our overall coordinator for natural resources.
Okay.
Red Hat is our office manager. Burke Thompson is Orphan Wells. So he's the person responsible for any of our abandoned oil and gas wells on trust land.
Thank you, Terrence. And I see Mr. Kelly has joined us. Good afternoon, Mr. Kelly. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. My apologies for being late. I had a mix up on the times. I thought, and I told Terrence this earlier. I thought it was at 9 o'clock. So was it 10? It was like 10 or something like that. I was trying to hop on earlier, but my apologies. And I
Yeah.
appreciate Terrence hopping in and answering those questions for us. But yeah,
Yeah,
right
thank.
now we do have.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was just you're free to go ahead and just kind of pick up where he left off. We were just kind of wanting to know the structure of the natural resource department.
For sure. Yeah, we have 13 guys, and he's right. Edmund Ware is our new uh, wildfire manager. He just started today, actually. So we're really excited about him. We also have our farming and ranch that also has Matt Harrison as a consultant. We just moved him to consultant. And then we have David Anderson, who's recently come on board to help us out, Denton Thomas, and George Codesy. So those guys handle our farming and ranch and our buffalo. And the only other person, I think he touched on everybody other than our office. I think he did mention office manager. So yeah, and we are looking at, and I know we've talked about this in the past. We are looking at trying to help start not a natural resource, an ArcGIS director, so we can start putting together some form of maps. We do have all the equipment and software necessary for that. We just need someone to lead that. And then I believe that's it. That's the last position that we're looking to fill right now. We do have a grant through the BIA that we're hoping to get the funds in for. That will be um, our community. It was given a specific name, but now it's been given a different name. But it'll be a community coordinator, and so that person will come in. And we originally had that set up, and Terrence was going to help us out with that position. I know that he's going to be helping the tribe elsewhere here real soon, but that position will start as soon as the BA gives us those funds for that.
I appreciate you telling us about that and kind of letting us know where the all the staff sounds like you got a lot going on in the department. But would you just kindly we gave Terrence an opportunity to introduce himself. Would you like to introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from? You're the director of the Natural Resources Department. Kind of give us a general overview of what your vision is for the department.
For sure. So just an introduction. My apologies again for being late, but yes, I'm Ephraim Kelly, Natural Resource Director. Started here 3 years ago as land management. And then when Chairman came in and introduced the Natural Resource Department, we just kind of he merged those together with the environmental programs, and just started rocking and rolling from there. Some of my past, I've worked in with the Sac-a-Fox Nation, Iowa, Tribe of Oklahoma, and Cheyenne Arapaho in different capacities, helping their different departments and programs. Um, as far as my vision for the Natural Resource Department, it really is to do just that, which is to ensure that we're developing our natural resources. We do have our land management program that right now currently Terrence is helping us with as a natural resource specialist. And so again, just ensuring that first and foremost that we're managing our property properly, which is for us, it's taken us it's been a learning experience for us, something that we're just now, um, as a tribe, getting back involved in and managing all of our lands. And so the key goal for us is to just ensure that every single one of our properties are being managed properly, and ensuring that our natural resources are being managed, our assets are being managed properly. And so, if that goes from our land management and ensuring that one property is built for hay, and we ensure that we have everything uh, within our department to ensure that we can develop that hay and have a use for it, or if that property is used for farming and grazing, or in the future we're looking at energy projects. We can look at that, and so just all around, just trying to ensure that uh, our natural resources are taken care of within the tribe, and to build them out, honestly, to grow our programs and our departments, ensure that our tribe has the services and everything needed for it to be successful.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. for giving us an overview of your department. And so, yeah, we had just we were talking with Terrence about what the plan is. He said the plan is to create a buffalo herd for the tribe um, to use, getting back to using buffalo for maybe our ceremonies or making things, from the buffalo that our people can utilize, even donating possibly buffalo meat to our ceremonies in the future. And then, I think the ultimate goal is to have a sustainable herd of about 150 housed at the Rainy Mountain property, which encompasses, I think, 1,900 acres. So just to kind of recap, that's what Terrence was kind of giving us an overview about. So, Ephraim, my question to you is: we currently we received a draft of update and changes to the Hearth Act. We'd like to just kind of ask you what are the major changes that are before the legislature and why there is a need to update that Hearth Act.
So I'm not aware of the major change. That is something that Terrence has specifically helped us out with. He's been leading that for us. I do know that there was some specific edits, and typically I do rely on my guys and that's obviously why Terrence is here to answer these questions for us. So Terrence, could you tell us what major changes that the legislators asking about? I was under the impression just some edits.
Yes, let me pull up the that for us. Hmm, where do I have it? Can you guys still hear me?
Yes, we hear you fine.
Okay. So some of the changes, one of them was to do with secretarial approval. In the draft first submitted, it didn't have that at all. So we don't have that on the table. It secretarial approval or disapproval in the Hearth Act is not there. And if we take that off the table, then there's going to be problems with litigation potentially down the line. And if we have the ability to lean on the Secretary of Approval to approve or disapprove of projects, then that helps us when we're able to use it at our discretion. So without the wording in there to allow for that, then we do not get those benefits.
So,
But
so Terrence, just to make sure that I'm understanding you correctly, we wanted to add in that secretarial approval
at our discretion,
at our discretion.
the tribe's discretion, yes. So there are times when a lease we may, with a company we may not want to mess up the relationship we have with them, or we may just want to cut ties completely in ways that would not be possible without secretarial approval. So things could get tied up in litigation for years on end if we do not have the ability to lean on the secretary to get something done in a timely manner. And another one was for property or improvements on land that we lease out. That is our responsibility as a sovereign. So another sovereign isn't going to take responsibility for our property. And if there are some tribes that do have that provision in their Hearth Act, that is solely due to their relationship as a sovereign to sovereign, their sovereign to sovereign relationship. And we do not have that with our BIA at our agency or even our regional office, since they barely service us as is. And the reason why we're going forward with the Hearth Act and some of these other changes we're trying to implement is to assert our sovereignty in a way to where we're not relying on them. So property being in the Hearth Act, they're not gonna, we were advised by the solicitors that that is not something that they're wanting to take the responsibility for.
Okay, so we're updating the Hearth Act to really change our tribe's leasing regulations under this act, which are designed to allow tribal control over our own leasing while
Yes.
maintaining federal recognition of our own tribal authority. So this Hearth Act authorizes the tribe to develop its own leasing procedures, right? But right now, the law we passed in 2024, it doesn't require the tribe to fully divest the Secretary of Interior for all approval rights, right? So the tribe is requesting to retain secretarial approval at its discretion. Is that what it's asking us to do?
One of the three changes, yes. One of the three changes is to allow for secretarial approval at our discretion.
And is that just for high risk projects?
Yes,
Okay.
that we would like to, if we did not want to spend all the money or did not have the resources for the litigation of, we could rely on the government to provide some of that relief, potentially.
So the this approach is consistent with what I guess the intent of the Hearth Act is in our leasing code. Would it recognizes our tribal sovereignty and our own authority to set terms of enforcement, right? Oversight and
Yes.
review. So that doesn't change.
No,
We wouldn't have to go to the secretary for everything. It would be our discretion, right?
this is the only thing we would have to get approval from the secretary for in terms of our leasing.
Okay.
Once this is in place, we do not have to go to the Secretary of Interior for any leasing.
Okay.
All we have to do is document our records with the LTRO office at the BIA, so the Land Trust Records Office.
Mhm.
And once we record our leases with them, that's their only involvement with that until we want enforcement. That's why we still have to submit our leases to the BIA's LTRO, is in case we do want them to enforce, you know, some of their sovereign responsibility.
Okay. So the other change was the tribal name, right? Was that a major issue? Is we needed to be on the heart?
In the register, in the tribal register, we are currently the Kiowa tribe of Oklahoma. And if we want to change that, that is something that is changed in January once the register is updated. So we can go forward with our current name and also update our name in the federal register. And those two processes can coexist. Like finishing the Hearth Act as the Kiowa Tribe of Oklahoma and then changing our name doesn't really, it's still going to be our Hearth Act. And once we change our name, the Hearth
You're
Act is still going to be
yeah.
under that. Like,
He I guess the Hearth Act, I mean, there is a plan and there is a resolution to get our name changed that was approved within the legislature to go ahead and change it to just the Kiowa tribe. You're aware of that, right?
yes, but we also have to go through the proper channels in registering
Hmm.
our name
Hmm.
to be recognized in the federal register. If
Okay.
we don't take all the steps to do that, then they're not going to recognize us as changing our name till we do that.
So we need to remain the Kiowa tribe of Oklahoma in the Hearth Act until we get our name changed officially, is what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And once we officially change our name to Kiowa Tribe in the federal register, then all of our documents that we submit forward, we can have Kiowa Tribe on all those documents.
So the third change under the Tribes Leasing Code and Hearth Act regulations Permanent improvements are the responsibility of the leasee.
Yes.
So this framework serves multiple purposes. So I guess the tribe wants to agree on the final Hearth Act submission as follows. It reduces liability and cost exposure for the tribe. It encourages due diligence and self-sufficiency among the actual leasees, people who lease land from the tribe, right? And it protects our tribal land from unapproved development. So under this new change here, it will ensure that at least termination, the tribe retains improvement in satisfactory conditions. So not allowing unapproved development on tribal property and ensuring that if there is something that is developed, it's removed or restored at the leasee's expense, right? Is that their
Yes.
final change? Did I say
They're
that?
the leases are responsible for the improvements themselves.
Okay.
So if they put a building that we approve on it, they are responsible for that building because we approved it. So as long as it's within, the building code standards and all of that and maintained, then, they're not breaking their lease with the tribe.
Okay. Terrence, I'm going to open the floor at this time. Terrence and Ephraim, I'm going to open the floor up for questions. This is a webinar. We're just going to see if there's any questions. We actually have our legislative legal counsel with us. He actually works in environmental law with tribes, and he might have some questions, or Mr. DeLon that's joining us. Anyone from the floor, do y'all have any questions for the Department of Natural Resources at this time?
Hi, Warren. Jason here, the lawyer. I don't have any questions right now, but thank you.
Mr. DeLon?
Legislator Wheaton. Yeah, I do have one quick question, which is just in terms of leasing projects that are prospectively in play or any sort of similar or analogous undertakings, are there any on the table that are contingent upon acceleration or final kind of passage of the Hearth Act revisions, to your knowledge?
So I can think of us putting our housing projects and the childcare development over on the golf course property in Anadarko. With the passage of that allows us more ability. So, like the Hearth Act's original intent is to put housing on our trust lands. And the tribe is looking to retain housing, not just build housing for individuals and then it leave the tribe's inventory and the tribe can't provide that housing anymore. So we want people to move back here to tribal lands and use the Hearth Act to build houses leased out on tribal land. So potentially further down the line with the Hearth Act is assignments. So like some Western tribes do with their tribal members is assign some of their tribally owned lands to individuals to develop. And we could do that to incentivize bringing people back from District 7 to, our 6 districts within our service area.
Thank you for that, Mr. Buckeye. That's my only question for now, Mr. Wheaton.
Are there any questions from any citizens? I know we had Ms. Peterson. She might have dropped off though, or that might be it. Well, I appreciate y'all agreeing to do this webinar today. We try to keep our webinar about 30 minutes to 45 minutes long. Are there any
I have a
final
question.
thoughts? Go ahead.
What's the timeline? Did you already, I'm sorry, I had to step off for a moment. What's the timeline that you have for the to get this in? I mean, there's been a discussion on a timeline, but nobody's ever given that exact timeline of when this has to be submitted or when you would like it to be submitted.
So it's not just the BIA, but the Department of Interior. So the solicitors have worked on this for the Department of Interior, and the draft copy that you guys first gave me back, I don't know when in August?
Yes.
So in August, you guys submitted the draft copies to me, and through that process with the Attorney General, we came up with those edits that would make it easier for secretarial approval. It
And
may
what
not be necessary for secretarial approval, but this would make it easier for them to see the document in this way that was edited by the solicitors and the attorney general. In terms of implementation on the executive side, as well as getting passed by the Secretary of Interior finally, so we can go forward with leasing our own lands without them in our business so much.
My other question is, so you're talking about the one that was submitted because the legislature had already passed the first one, but it was never submitted to the Bureau?
No, it was never submitted to the Bureau, so they have no knowledge of us even
Passed the
doing the
first
hard thing.
one?
Yes. So these are some of the necessary steps for us to, have the Hearth Act is actually getting secretarial approval of it, of the final document, so that way we can go forward without having them in our business so much. But we did not go through that step with the Hearth Act that you guys passed. So now we're going through the formal process, and we do have Miss Kidman who has been assisting with this, and she has notified me that they are going to close this case soon if we do not act on it. Because when we did first submit it in August, they we have gone through the editing, we have gone through all of this, and now it is on you guys to approve it or not, and then submit it back to the secretary for final approval. We still have to get it approved by the Secretary of Interior.
So what is she talking about closing it out? Does she have a closeout date?
I can ask that of Miss Kidman when their specific date for closeout is, but like I said, this has been open since August of last year.
Well, I have a follow-up question just because I think it's just an echo of the same question, which is soon is kind of ambiguous. So having clarity on a specific timeline or parameter would be
I,
helpful.
I can get that for you guys, but the fact that it has been open since August and it is now going to be July.
Right. And the fact is, though, concurrent to that, that federal government works on a timeline that's slow, in which things take months or years. So again, having clarity would be helpful because, progress through the channels and the cogs of, the machinery of government is typically slow.
Yeah,
So,
and they're the ones who are reaching out to me on the speed of this. So their slow is faster than what is going on here. No, I got
right. So that's why, again, specificity would be helpful.
sure. Like I will send an email to Miss Kidman after this meeting, and I will include you guys on it.
Okay.
Would you also CC me myself, Terrence?
Yes, all of you guys will be on this. You will be.
Okay.
I think this is the first time that they weren't aware that the very first one that was enacted by the legislature was not submitted. So that's
Yeah.
on
Yeah, we
record.
did not know that, Terrence. We
Yes.
figured it was already submitted and at the Department of Interior.
Oh
So that's
no.
news to us.
Just like the name change, when you guys did the name change, it was not submitted through the proper channels to the Federal Register. So that's why they do not recognize us as the Kiowa tribe,
Okay.
because we didn't go through the proper processes.
Well, the actual name change was never done in the first place. It was just done with the legislature, this legislature, uh 2 months ago, and it was submitted to Sherry Lovin.
Yes. And when we talked about that, I remember us talking about that. Yes.
Right. So she does have that resolution.
Okay. And then once we do have all of that in place, it will be our name will be updated in the Federal Register in January.
Yeah.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Tracy, all we have left to do is just a public hearing, right?
Uh, yeah, because we didn't have some of these questions answered that the legislature didn't know, because like I said, you guys weren't aware that the first one was not ever submitted or even discussed with you what the changes were until it came up. And then what the actual, what you're actually going to, the projects that you're looking at, doing on our property. So the golf course, that you've got the golf course set up, you guys knew that, yeah, at some point that it was going to be cultivated into placing housing on there, but I didn't know, that they were going to place childcare on there also. Right.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you just
Right.
said? Okay.
Well, I think so Terrence, my question about passing the Hearth Act, like we have this week, and then we can't hold a special session that quick. So the next time we would convene as a legislature would be April the 12th. I'm sorry, not April the 12th, July the 12th at our regular session. Is that time frame quick enough?
If you send me your intent to review this and get this passed by that date, I can send that to the Department of Interior,
Okay.
and that can, on our end, if we have a definitive date for them,
Yeah.
I think that would, help with our case in terms of how long it is taking.
Okay.
So you want a letter from the speaker is what you're asking?
I think we give them a memorandum, probably showing the date, like when we're going to host a public hearing in our next legislative session, and with the intent to vote on this.
And I'll get that to them, and that shows them the intent that we are keeping this going, that we are at least moving on this subject.
And just for clarity purposes, for Mr. DeLon and Tracy and Jason, they have been authorized by the chairman to talk to us about this Hearth Act,
Okay.
according to what Mr. Palkey told me this morning via
Yes,
phone.
I'll send the letter from the chairman and attorney general stating my involvement in this project.
Thank you. That way we can archive that and there's no discrepancies.
Yes, ma'am.
Has this been helpful, Terrence, in getting kind of on the same page and getting something
Yes, sir.
moving?
Just so that we're all on the same page and that we can get this, finished, because
Okay.
this is just one step in terms of our tribe being able to assert its sovereignty over our own lands here in Western Oklahoma.
Sure. Okay. Well, one final call. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for your time, Ephraim and Terrence. Appreciate y'all's time being on this call today. We'll follow up and with that letter and start an email chain to kind of have that discussion on what we can do to get this pushed through. Okay.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Guys,
Oh, are you good, Ephraim? Did you want to say something?
sorry, I was just saying thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay. It just kind of came in real quick. I was trying to think like maybe he's trying to talk more, but okay. Thank you very much, Ephraim.
For sure. See you guys.
All right. Thank you all. Have a good
Thank
afternoon,
you.
everyone.
Have a good one.